Okay, so we are now recording. Interest, we already talked about. That is a fee that you pay monthly for borrowing the bank's money. Interest rates are pretty high when you've got a loan because remember, a bank is a business and they will gladly take your money and they will give you money so that you can pay them a lot of money in return. Anybody know what an APR is? Yeah?
Does it stand for annual percentage rate?
Yes, it does. Nice job. This is the interest rate on a loan. And it's yearly, which is the annual part. We're going to talk about installment plans, down payments, installment prices tomorrow. Right now we're going to look at this worksheet now and talk about how to do it because it will be due. It's going to be due on Thursday because tomorrow we're doing posted partners. But we can get a lot of it done today. So, all right, let's start on this one, this side. There's APR worksheet on the top. All right, so we're going to try number 1 and number 15. All right, now these numbers are going to start to shock you, especially when you get to stuff like purchasing a house, how much money you pay back in that kind of loan, or purchasing a car, big money, big loans over a certain amount of times. They really build up interest fast. It is distressing and depressing how much money the bank is going to make off of you if you don't have enough money to buy something, which really kind of like solidifies the fact that if you are born into a rich family, you have a much easier time surviving than if you are born into a family that doesn't have as much means. All right, now let's say that you wanted to borrow $385. What?
That's when you just marry into a rich family.
You can get interest-free daddy loans.
Yeah, why marry for love? That's gross, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. We've got, hey, everybody, I thought I was looking at the copy that I had. Oh, no, I'm good. Okay, so this is the amount borrowed. This is your monthly payment, and you have to pay it for 6 times, 6 usually months. Okay, so how do I find out the total amount that I have to repay? It is something times something, you're right. All right, I'm going to say it again because I have a feeling that you teenagers were like listening to my voice but not hearing my words a second ago, yeah? So, all right, so let me say it again, yep. All right, so this is the amount you want to borrow. You need $385. The bank gives you $385 and they say, no problem, here's your $385, but every month you're going to pay us $67.31 6 times. How do you know how much you have to pay back in total, Grace?
Multiply the monthly payment and the number of payments.
Right, I'm going to take this times this, and that'll give me that one. $67.31 times 6.
4,386.
$403.86, you said?
Yeah, 4,386.
Okay,
Ooh, and then just subtract that number and the first number to get the interest.
good. So you take this number and subtract the amount borrowed to figure out how much interest you just paid, which was $18.86. So if you wanted to borrow $385, you'd pay $18.86 in interest. Not a big deal, right? $18 to borrow almost $400 for 6 months? Okay, like that's a reasonable amount, correct?
Sure.
Okay, now the trouble is that when you like take out a loan on a house, and instead of taking out $400, you're taking out $200,000, okay? Then the interest you start getting interest on your interest, just like compounded interest. When compounded interest is good for you, right? You get more interest on interest, but then it's compounded interest for the bank. So you owe more, and then they're taking money on that interest too. So they're taking money on interest, which really starts racking it up high. Why don't you try number 5 for me really quick? The amount borrowed is this. This is your monthly payment. You have to pay it for 15 months. Go ahead and try it on your own. All right, now I want you to take a look at this. First of all, did you get the same answers as I did? Great. All right, next thing I want you to look is my calculator screen. So don't stop doing all the rest of the problems and watch, okay? You'll have 2 days to do this. You have lots of time. All right, now I want to show you some real life math here. First, I'm taking the amount of interest you paid on that first almost $400, and I'm seeing what percentage it is. It's about 5%. 4.8%, right? Now look at the interest on the second one, 177.55 cents out of 1,385. That is almost 13% on that higher one. So why do you think that it's so much more money on the second one than on this one? Yeah?
Because of how much longer you're taking to pay back.
That it is. If it was 6 months, you'd probably also be paying more like 5%. But instead, you're paying it back over 18 months. So now I want you to imagine that you've got out a $200,000 loan for 30 years. Okay? By the time you pay back $200,000, it is often over double that amount. So like you'd be paying back more like $500,000 on your $200,000 over 30 years. It's a lot of money, but it's also necessary for a lot of us. But the less amount of time you can get on a loan, the better. For example, when my husband and I bought our house, we bought a house we couldn't afford. We bought a house that was, I've told you about this, I think. We bought a house that was in Winona in the Skyline Drive neighborhood, like up by Garvin Heights.
Oh,
Okay? And our house, they wanted to sell it for like $230, and in the end, we negotiated it down to $195, right? We paid $195 for our house, which we could not afford. We could afford the down payment though, so we made the down payment. And then we had like a mortgage set, which is a loan payment for every every month for the next 30 years. And then as my husband started getting raises, and I got a few raises at my job too, we realized we could pay more monthly on our loan payment, so we refinanced our loan. And what that means is they change you from having a loan for 30 years to you having a loan for we changed it to 20 years. So we shortened our loan by a decade, which means that in the end, we're paying a lot less interest, but that our loan payments right now are higher every month because we can afford it. And that way, in the end, we don't end up paying as much interest. So you got to kind of keep rethinking about your finances and what you can afford and what you can't. But to be honest, most people will end up taking out loans to go to college, to buy a house, to buy a car, because most of us do not have $200,000 sitting around, or $100,000 sitting around, or $10,000 sitting around. It's a lot of money. And a lot of us don't have parents that will automatically help us. And those who do, that is a wonderful, wonderful thing that is happening to you. And your parents are giving you a wonderful head start. But for those of you who do not have parents that will help you pay for college, or that will help you pay for your first car, this is really probably what